I still remember the night I stopped breathing. Not because I was dying, but because the life I knew ended in one silent vibration. It was past midnight. Laura was asleep beside me, or pretending to be. Her phone buzzed under the pillow, just once. A message lit up the screen. A name I didn't recognize. Had fun tonight, winking face. Before I could blink, she reached under the pillow, swiped the screen, and rolled over. Her breathing changed, shallow, fast. I stared at the dark ceiling and whispered to myself, "Don't overthink it, Ethan. Don't." But deep down, I already knew. Something was wrong. That's how betrayal starts, not with a scream, but with a vibration you're not supposed to hear. The next morning felt ordinary. Too ordinary. Laura was humming while making coffee, her hair tied up messily, the way I used to love it. She smiled when she saw me, but it felt practiced, like she'd rehearsed it in a mirror. I tried to act normal. "Morning." She handed me my mug, kissed my cheek. "You're up early. Everything okay?" Everything wasn't okay. "But how do you say? I think your phone is cheating on me." So I smiled back. "Yeah. Just didn't sleep well." I watched her scroll through her phone while sipping coffee. Her eyes flicked, just once, to me, like she was checking if I'd seen something. And maybe I did. A shadow. A hesitation. A secret. We'd been married 8 years. College sweethearts. She was the kind of woman who could make silence feel comfortable. We built a small home together, a quiet street, 2 bedrooms, one dream, to start a family soon. I was the steady one. An engineer. Numbers made sense to me. Life did too, until it didn't. Laura was warmth, the type who'd dance barefoot in the kitchen when the rain hit the windows. I loved her laughter. I loved her chaos. Then Sophie came back into her life. Sophie. Laura's best friend from university. The kind who entered a room like she owned the air inside it. Confident, bold, always with a story that started with, "You won't believe what I did last night." She'd moved to our city 6 months earlier, newly single and proud of it. She started visiting every other weekend, bringing wine, gossip, and opinions about everything. At first, I liked her energy. She made Laura laugh. But soon her conversations shifted, from light jokes to subtle jabs at marriage. "You two are cute," she'd say, pouring wine. "But don't you ever feel trapped? Like marriage is a cage wrapped in a wedding band?" Laura would roll her eyes, laugh it off. But I saw the way she'd think afterward, quietly, thoughtfully. And I hated it. It started with small things. Laura began dressing differently, not wrong, just deliberate. More perfume. Late-night texts to Sophie. I told myself it was fine. I didn't want to be that husband, the paranoid one who checks phones and questions smiles. But one night, while cleaning up after dinner, I noticed her phone on the counter. A message popped up from Sophie. "Did you tell him yet?" "Tell me what?" When I looked up, Laura was already there. Her hand snatched the phone so fast she almost dropped it. "It's just work stuff," she said. Too fast. Too defensive. Work stuff. At 11:30 p.m. From her best friend. That night, I stared at the ceiling again. The same ceiling that once felt like home. A few weeks later, we all went out for dinner, Laura insisted. Sophie joined us, wearing that smug smile she always wore when she had a secret. Halfway through the meal, after too many glasses of wine, she leaned in and said, "You know, Ethan, marriage is like a business. You invest, you get returns. But sometimes you need to diversify." Laura laughed too hard at that. And I sat there, staring at them, realizing the joke wasn't funny, it was a test. When Sophie went to the restroom, I looked at Laura. "Is that what you talk about when I'm not around?" She froze. Then smiled carefully. "She's just joking. Don't take her seriously." But that's the thing about jokes, they always hide a bit of truth. After that night, something changed. Laura started taking solo weekends. "Just me time," she said. Sophie says it's healthy. Sophie says? That phrase became poison. I tried to talk to Laura about it. You've been distant lately. She smiled sadly. I just need space. To breathe. To find myself again. I wanted to tell her she didn't need to find herself, she was my home. But I didn't. I just nodded. Because love makes you patient. Even when it shouldn't. It happened a month later. She came home late one night, humming again. Her perfume was different, heavier. I hugged her, and she froze for half a second before relaxing. While she showered, I cleaned up the purse she'd left on the counter. A folded paper slipped out, a hotel receipt. One night. Downtown. Paid in cash. I held it for a long time, staring at the date. 2 nights ago. When she came out of the shower, I asked quietly. Did you stay somewhere recently? She blinked. What? No. Why? I showed her the receipt. Her eyes widened, just slightly, before she forced a laugh. Oh. That's Sophie's. She must have mixed it up in my purse. We were shopping that day. I nodded. Right. Sophie's. I wanted to believe it. God, I wanted to believe it. But something in her eyes told me the truth. The following week, I noticed every detail, every lie disguised as routine. The way she'd smile at her phone. The way she'd dress up for yoga. The way her laughter came too easily, too perfectly rehearsed. And the way Sophie's name appeared in every excuse. It wasn't Sophie I hated. It was the version of my wife Sophie had created, one who believed loyalty was old-fashioned, that thrill meant freedom. Friday night. She said she was having a girls' night with Sophie. I waited until she left, then checked the home Wi-Fi logs, something I'd never done before. Her phone had synced with an unfamiliar number, again. Curiosity killed my peace that night. I opened her laptop. She never logged out of her email. Buried deep in the trash folder was a thread titled, The Agreement. Sophie's words burned into my eyes. He'll never understand until you try. You deserve to feel wanted again. Don't feel guilty. Open marriages are the future. And then Laura's reply. I'm nervous, but you're right. I need this. Thank you for pushing me. My hands trembled. My world tilted. 8 years of love turned into an experiment. That night I didn't confront her. I waited. I needed to see, to know before I spoke. She came home past midnight, smelling of alcohol and guilt. She kissed my forehead. You're awake? Just couldn't sleep. She smiled softly. Don't worry, babe. Everything's okay. But everything wasn't okay. When she fell asleep, I sat beside her, just watching. She looked peaceful, like a stranger I'd once known. And in that moment, something inside me broke quietly. I whispered to myself. You wanted freedom, Laura? Fine. But freedom isn't free. She stepped out of the hotel. Sunlight caught in her hair, and for one heartbeat I almost forgot why I was there. Then I saw the man beside her. He laughed at something she said, close enough that his shoulder brushed hers. My pulse hammered so hard I could hear it in my ears. I slid lower in the driver's seat. My hands were trembling against the steering wheel, slick with sweat. The car smelled like fear and coffee. Laura glanced around once before getting into her car. She didn't see me. The man, tall, dark jacket, confident stride, walked the opposite direction. I watched him until he disappeared into traffic, my stomach twisting. I didn't move for 5 full minutes. The world outside kept spinning, horns, footsteps, city noise, but inside the car, time had frozen. When I finally started the engine, I didn't drive home. I followed her. She went to the river road, the long route back to the suburbs. Every red light felt like a test. I kept 2 cars behind. She turned into a small bakery, probably to buy bread like nothing had happened. I parked across the street. When she came out, bag in hand, she smiled at the cashier, that same easy, innocent smile that used to be mine. I wanted to open the door, shout, demand an explanation. But instead I sat there, motionless, because if I confronted her now, I'd only have emotion, no proof. Proof. That word clung to my mind like a hook. At home she kissed my cheek again, said she'd picked up pastries for us. I smiled. Smells good. Inside, every nerve was screaming. That night she showered, changed, and curled next to me like always. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, counting her breaths. I started watching her more carefully. The subtle things, when she'd tilt her phone away, when she'd walk out to take a call. She said Sophie was helping plan a weekend trip. The lie tasted sweet coming from her mouth. I began building my own system. A quiet war. A small voice recorder under the couch. One behind the picture frame in the hallway. Cameras disguised as USB chargers in the living room and kitchen. It felt wrong, but betrayal rewires morality. When trust dies, survival replaces it. 2 nights later she said she was going out for dinner with Sophie again. I nodded, kissed her forehead, and pretended to be half asleep on the couch. The door clicked. Her perfume lingered for minutes after she left, faint but sharp. I waited 10 minutes, then checked the feed from the living room camera on my phone. Empty. I switched to the hallway view. Nothing. And then movement. Someone else entered through the back door. A man, same build, same jacket. My chest tightened. He moved confidently, like he'd been here before. He looked around once, then walked toward the living room, out of frame. I sat frozen, the phone glowing in my palm. I couldn't see his face clearly. The angle caught only his profile. But the shape, it felt familiar. I rewound, paused, stared. Sophie's boyfriend. Derek. The thought hit like electricity. I dropped the phone. It clattered against the table. For a moment I couldn't breathe. My mind raced through memories. Sophie teasing, Laura laughing, Derek shaking my hand at a barbecue last year. My world folded inward. I closed my eyes, counted to 10, forced air into my lungs. Then I watched again, frame by frame, until the feed froze. They were gone, moved to the bedroom camera that I hadn't installed. I felt sick. Not because of what I might see, but because of what I already knew. An hour later she came home, humming softly. Same perfume. Same calm. She kissed my cheek. You're still awake? I smiled. Just working. She went to bed. I stayed up, deleting the footage from the cloud and moving it to a hidden drive. My hands shook as I typed the password, truth. Over the next days, I acted normal. Made breakfast, went to work, called her during lunch like nothing had changed. She told me Sophie was doing better, and that they were planning a spa weekend. I almost laughed. Instead, I started planning. I bought a second phone. Different number. Created a fake account under a neutral name. From there I texted Sophie, pretending to be a friend of Derek's. Small talk at first. Harmless. Then, slowly, questions. About relationships, about Laura. Sophie couldn't resist attention. Within 2 days she was venting about how men don't understand open minds. She said she'd helped a friend find herself again. Every line was a dagger. By the end of the week I had enough, screenshots, messages, timestamps. But I needed one final piece. The next Friday she left again. I waited half an hour, then followed. This time she didn't go downtown. She drove to Sophie's apartment. I parked 2 buildings away, walked quietly to the corner, and saw through the lit window Sophie and Derek arguing. Laura sat on the couch between them, tense. Sophie threw her hands up. Derek grabbed his jacket and stormed out. Then Laura stood, turned toward the window, and I saw her face. Confused. Guilty. Scared. Sophie grabbed her shoulders, whispered something close to her ear. Laura shook her head, tears on her cheeks. And in that second, I didn't feel anger. Just exhaustion. Whatever Sophie was selling, Laura had bought it, and now the cost was eating her alive. I turned away before she saw me. That night I didn't watch footage. I didn't dig for clues. I sat in the dark living room and thought about the man I used to be. The one who believed love could fix everything. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Ethan, we need to talk. Please don't hate me. Her. My throat closed. I didn't answer. 5 minutes later, another message. I'm sorry for everything. I just wanted to feel alive. Alive. That word again. Sophie's word. I typed one reply. Tomorrow. Noon. Next day, she came home early. Pale, shaking, holding her phone like it weighed 100 pounds. She sat opposite me at the kitchen table. I know you know, she whispered. Silence. Her eyes filled. It's not what you think. I almost laughed, but the sound never came. Then tell me what it is. She looked down. Sophie said, it would help me. That marriage needs freedom to survive. I thought. I cut her off. You thought betrayal was therapy? Tears spilled. I ended it. I swear. I told him it was over. Derek? I said. Her silence answered for her. She covered her face, sobbing. For the first time in weeks, I felt calm. Too calm. Like a storm. I stood, walked to the counter, poured 2 glasses of water. My voice sounded foreign. We'll talk later. I have things to do. When I left, she didn't stop me. I drove aimlessly, city lights blurring through the windshield. Rage and grief mixed into something colder, clarity. This wasn't just Laura's betrayal. Sophie had built it, nurtured it, justified it. And I'd been patient long enough. That night I compiled every file, every screenshot, every recording into one folder. Then I drafted a short email, no words, just the title. For your eyes only. I sent it to Derek. 10 minutes later my phone rang. Unknown number. His voice was tight. Who is this? Someone you should have respected, I said and hung up. I sat in silence, watching the clock. 30 minutes later, a message arrived from Laura. Sophie's freaking out. What did you do? I didn't answer. Sometimes silence is the loudest confession. When dawn came, I realized revenge wasn't fire, it was ice. It froze everything it touched, even me. I went home. Laura was gone. A note on the table read, I need time. Please don't hate me. I folded it once, slipped it into the drawer, and whispered to the empty house. Time's all you'll have now. Outside, the sun was rising, but inside, the world stayed dark. And that's when I knew the confrontation was coming. Because truth doesn't stay buried. It waits, like me. Waiting for the moment the door opens and the lies finally run out of air. I don't remember when I started sleeping with one eye open, but it happened somewhere between the late-night phone vibrations and the quiet laughter that stopped the moment I entered the room. It's strange how betrayal doesn't arrive as thunder. It comes as whispers, as silences you can't explain. I used to trust every word Sarah said. Now, every word felt like a lie wrapped in perfume. For weeks, I'd been collecting small pieces of something I couldn't name. A half-deleted text. The faint smell of someone else's cologne on her scarf. Her sudden interest in space, that word people use when they're hiding something. One night, I woke up at 2 a.m. and saw the glow of her phone. She was smiling at the screen, her thumb moving fast. When she noticed me shifting, she put it face down. Work message, she whispered. Work? At 2 a.m.? She didn't answer. I didn't sleep again that night. By morning, the doubt had grown teeth. I started watching her. Not like a jealous husband, but like a detective who already knows the answer but still hopes he's wrong. She'd leave the house earlier. Come back later. Shower before saying hello. Her best friend, Megan, seemed to be around more than usual. Megan, the woman who'd always been a little too bold, a little too loud. I used to think she was good for Sarah. Now, I wasn't so sure. One Saturday, I came home early. Sarah's car wasn't there, but Megan's was, parked 2 blocks away, hidden behind the corner. My stomach dropped. I didn't go in. I waited. from the car. Watching. An hour later, Sarah came out, dressed differently than when she'd left. Makeup fresh. Hair fixed. She smiled at her reflection in the side mirror, then drove away. I sat there, staring at the empty driveway. My hands were shaking. That night, I confronted her, softly, testing the waters. "Where were you today?" I asked. "With Megan," she said easily. "We had lunch and went shopping." I almost laughed. The lie was too neat, too practiced. "Megan parked near the old bakery," I said slowly. "Didn't see you with her." Her face froze for half a second. Then she smiled again. "You're being paranoid, John." Paranoid. That word burned. Because it makes you question your sanity even when you know the truth. After that, I stopped asking questions. I started collecting answers. Over the next week, I installed a small GPS tracker under her car. It wasn't rage that made me do it. It was clarity. I needed proof, not for revenge, but for reality. Each night I checked the app. Most of her routes were normal: office, supermarket, gym. Then, on Wednesday, I saw something different, a stop she never mentioned, a small apartment complex across town. She stayed there for 3 hours. I felt a cold wave wash over me. The next day, she went again. Same time. Same place. I didn't follow. Not yet. I wanted to be sure. Thursday evening, she said she had a late client call. Her tone was casual, too casual. I nodded. "Take your time." She smiled, kissed my cheek, and left. As soon as her car turned the corner, I followed. The night was quiet. My heartbeat wasn't. I parked a few buildings away from the address I'd marked. Every window in that complex was dark, except one. Second floor. Curtains half closed. Her car was parked below. I waited in the shadows, every minute stretching like a blade. Then, through that window, I saw a silhouette, 2 of them. A woman's outline. And another figure, taller, broader. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. I wasn't ready to see more. But I'd seen enough. I drove aimlessly for hours, replaying every memory like a movie I no longer recognized. The laughter at dinner. The long hugs. The promises. Megan's words echoed in my head, the way she once joked. "Marriage gets boring after a few years, you know. Maybe you should spice it up, John." Was this her idea of spicing it up? Was Megan behind all this? I remembered how Megan had introduced Sarah to new friends. How she talked about open-minded relationships. How Sarah had changed after those talks. My mind spiraled. Maybe it wasn't just cheating. Maybe it was corruption, slow and poisonous. The next morning, I acted normal. I made breakfast. I smiled. I asked about her client call. She said it went great. Her voice didn't even tremble. I realized then, she'd become an expert liar. Later, when she left for work, I called in sick. I went to see Megan. She opened the door with that same smirk. "John! What a surprise! Can we talk?" She tilted her head, pretending to be curious. "About Sarah?" "Yes." She laughed softly. "You've finally noticed." That laugh. That single sound. It told me everything. She poured coffee, acting like we were old friends catching up. "John, don't be so dramatic," she said. "Sarah just needed freedom. Everyone does." "Freedom?" I repeated. "Is that what you call it?" "She was miserable," Megan continued. "You're stable, sure. But dull. She wanted excitement." I clenched my jaw. "You encouraged her?" Megan leaned forward, her smile sharp. "I helped her see the truth. Marriage doesn't mean ownership. Maybe if you'd been more interesting." I didn't let her finish. I stood up and left. Her voice followed me out the door, soft, mocking. "You can't cage a bird, John. It always flies back to where it feels alive." I drove home in silence. My anger wasn't loud anymore. It was cold. Precise. That night, Sarah tried to cuddle up beside me. I didn't move. I pretended to be asleep. She whispered something I couldn't hear and turned away. I stared at the ceiling until dawn. By Friday, I had made my decision. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to end it, on my terms. I took the day off work. Cleaned the house. Packed her things quietly. I didn't leave a note. Then I printed the GPS logs. Every time, every location. When she came home that evening, she found her clothes folded neatly in boxes. The papers sitting on the kitchen table. Her face went pale. "John, what is this?" she asked. "Proof," I said simply. Her lips trembled. "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand," I said. "Better than you think." She started crying, but I wasn't moved. "You wanted freedom," I said. "Now you have it." I walked past her, out the door, into the cold air that suddenly felt cleaner than it had in months. But as I drove away, my phone buzzed. A message. From an unknown number. "She's not who you think she is. Meet me. Tonight. Same apartment. 9 p.m. I stopped the car, heart pounding. Who sent this? The lover? Megan? Or someone else entirely? Either way, I had to know. I turned the car around. And that's where everything began to unravel. I drove through the night like a man chasing his own ghost. The city lights blurred past, 1,000 reflections of everything I'd lost. That text was still on my screen. "She's not who you think she is. Meet me. Tonight. Same apartment. 9 p.m. I didn't know who sent it. All I knew was that my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Maybe I wanted the truth. Maybe I just wanted it to end. When I reached the apartment building, the lot was empty except for one car, Sarah's. My stomach tightened. Every instinct told me to leave, but I couldn't. Not now. The stairwell smelled of rust and rain. My footsteps echoed like gunshots. Second floor. Door 23. Light under the crack. I listened, nothing. Then, a voice behind me. "John!" I turned. A man stood in the hallway, mid-30s, expensive suit, calm eyes. "You don't know me," he said quietly. "But I know her." My pulse quickened. "You're the one she's been seeing." He shook his head. "Not anymore. Not since I found out what she's been doing." I frowned. "Doing?" He looked away, almost ashamed. "Megan runs a small group online, people bored with their marriages. She convinces them to experiment." Sarah joined. "At first it was just talk, fantasies, but then Megan started recording private meetings. Selling them. Blackmailing couples." I felt my blood run cold. "You're saying she recorded you too, John? Cameras in your home. You were the perfect husband, the example she used to make Sarah feel trapped. I found the footage. I thought you should know before you destroy yourself over her lies." He handed me a small flash drive. "Everything's on there. I'm leaving the country tonight. You should see the truth before it's too late." Then he walked away, down the stairs, and vanished into the rain. Back in my car, I stared at the flash drive. For a long moment I couldn't move. Then I plugged it into my laptop. The screen filled with dates, folders, videos, names I recognized. Sarah. Megan. And me. I clicked one at random. Megan's voice played first. "He's too good for you, Sarah. You need someone exciting. Let me help you find it." Sarah's laughter followed, nervous, uncertain. "I don't know, Megan. John loves me." "Exactly," Megan purred. "And love makes you weak." Another clip showed Megan talking to a man on the phone. "Yes, she's in. The husband's oblivious. I'll send you the footage next week." My hands clenched around the laptop. Every word felt like a knife. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a game. My life, our marriage, had been content for someone else's profit. I closed the laptop and sat there in the dark, breathing hard, until the shaking stopped. Then I knew what I had to do. At dawn I drove to Megan's place. The blinds were down, lights off. I knocked once, twice. No answer. The third time, the door opened. Megan stood there, robe half-tied, eyes widening when she saw me. "John!" "What?" I held up the flash drive. "You recorded us." Her smile faltered. "You shouldn't believe everything." "I saw it," I cut in. "You manipulated her. You used her." For the first time, she looked afraid. "John, listen, it's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think." I stepped closer. "You made her destroy everything. And you filmed it." She backed up, voice trembling. "You can't prove anything." I set the drive on her table. "Actually, I can. But I'm not going to the police. I'm going to the internet." Her face strained of color. "You wouldn't." "Watch me." I turned and walked out, her voice breaking into curses behind me. By the time I reached my car, I already knew I wouldn't post anything. I didn't need revenge. I just needed freedom. 2 weeks later, Sarah tried to call. Then she showed up at my work, tears in her eyes, begging for forgiveness. "Please, John. I didn't know what she was doing. I swear I didn't mean to hurt you." I looked at her for a long time. The woman I'd loved was standing there, shaking, empty. I could see the fear, the regret, but I couldn't see the love anymore. "You let her turn you into someone else," I said softly. "I can't love that person." Her lip trembled. "So that's it? That's mercy," I whispered. "For both of us." I walked away before she could answer. Months passed. I sold the house. Moved across the city. Started over. Sometimes, late at night, I'd still think about her. About us. Not with anger, just a quiet sadness, like remembering a song that used to mean something. One evening, I opened my laptop and deleted every file, every picture, every trace of that old life. The flash drive, too, I crushed it under my heel and threw it into the river. As the current carried it away, I realized something: closure doesn't come when you get even. It comes when you stop needing answers. A year later, I met someone new. Not a replacement. Just a reminder that life doesn't end with betrayal, it restarts with self-respect. Sometimes people ask me if I'd ever forgive Sarah. I tell them I already did. Forgiveness isn't for her, it's for me. And when I lie awake at night, I no longer listen for the sound of lies in the dark. I listen for peace, and finally I hear it.